Έλα για λίγο να σε δω κι αν από χαρά σπάσω εκεί μπροστά σαν ποτήρι και με τα μάτια τραγούδω όταν οι λιγμοί πνίξουν τη φωνή.
Good afternoon. Welcome to a new episode of Conociéndonos. We are at New Radio here in Letogradska number 10. Thank you for listening. Today we have the pleasure of welcoming with us Badr Tachouche. He's a lecturer and artist based in the Czech Republic. And I had the pleasure of meeting him back in 2018 during a big debate at Imbaze. We were talking about Islam, and since then he has been collaborating with some common friends, and I've been following some of his work, and I've come to see that he's a fascinating person, so I think he's a great person to interview here today, and we will get to discover his multifaceted parts of personality, his talents, and we'll enjoy some of his music as well. Getting to know him, conociéndonos. So welcome, Badr Tachouche.
Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to be with you, so thank you very much for having me.
Okay, yes, it's a pleasure. So maybe we can start talking a little bit about music. Yeah? About maybe your interest, how it arose, your interest in music. How did that come about in your life?
Yeah, thank you. I would say my earliest contact with music go back to childhood, as far as I can remember, the age of 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. So everything started from the family. And then there are other factors that help it growing this interest. So there is family, and then there is the nature of the place where I was born. The contrast of cultures, and then there is also some events that they are probably sad events, but they really inspired me to go in this way. So the family supported my early interest in art in general. It was not just music. I think I was more into drawing, painting, mm-hmm. and making little sculptures with mm-hmm. modeling clay. Mm-hmm. And then I joined the school choir, and then did a little bit of theater. Mm-hmm. All of this was in the age of 6 to 8. Mm-hmm. And my family was really supportive, and they helped me really very much. Then there was, as I said, the nature of the place. I was born in the city of Hippo, mm-hmm. as I still like to call it, mm-hmm. the ancient name. Mm-hmm. Nowadays it's Annaba, but from the window of our place, I still remember the view. I could see the Cathedral of St. Augustine mm-hmm. of Hippo, mm-hmm. where his relics are still there. Mm-hmm. And from the other side, there is another saint, mm-hmm. who's an Andalusian mm-hmm. Theologian from the 11th century who moved from Cordoba to Annaba. Mm-hmm. He lived there, he taught there. Mm-hmm. And I was a young boy, so I did not think a lot about this contrast of a Christian theologian and a Muslim theologian next to each other. Mm-hmm. But then, like 10 or 15 years, or maybe 20 years after that, I did my PhD about this. This interesting just view from the window. There is another contrast. It was beautiful in the beginning, but then it turned sour, unfortunately, in Algeria. It was when the two cultures, the French culture and Arabic cultures, in the beginning they were doing really well. They were friends. They were inspiring many artists and people, intellectuals. We had Albert Camus, who is French, Algerian of inspiration. We have Jacques Derrida. We have Enrico Macias. And the painter who became my superstar at the time, Etienne Dinet. He's a French painter who came to Algeria, to the city of Boussaada, and he lived there and loved Algeria. So there was kind of exchange and a nice interaction between the two cultures, even after the independence of Algeria, after 1962. But as I said, soon the two camps, if you want, Francophone and Arabophone, or if you want the military regime and the Islamists, who took over the power for some time. But I mean, ideologically they were dominant, so there was a conflict between the two, and that led to the Black Decade in Algeria. And, 200,000 people lost their lives, and including them many artists, many singers and actors and musicians, and others had to flee the country to France. So my earliest inspiration was more from the French culture. I remember my mother used to take me to the Centre Culturel Français, this French cultural center. The small library of my father was fully French. And I still remember even when my family came to visit us from France, they brought some gifts to me, like good quality pencils and painting brushes and modeling clay. And so that's, I think, the earliest contact with art, and I'm thankful to and grateful to my family and my school and all the people who supported me when I was, or supported this interest when I was a child.
Okay, thank you. Very nice introduction. It's very nice to have all this background, because maybe not all of the audience is very familiar with your context. So maybe would you like to play us a song?
Okay. Later maybe I will speak more about how this continued in my life. Yes. But yes, I will choose one song. This song I produced with a Hungarian couple in Germany in 2015. The musician who played most of the instruments, Zsolt and his wife Anita, they were super talented people. What connected us actually is also a beautiful story, which I will tell later maybe. But the music you will hear now is an interpretation of a music attributed to a Polish man who is Albertos Bobovius. Well, he's better known under the name Ali Ufki, because in the 17th century this man was taken to the Ottoman Empire, where he served the Ottomans. And there he composed music and translated books. So one of the songs attributed to him is this melody we will hear. And it was my first attempt to write lyrics for the music. So this is my humble lyrics. And interestingly, because we are in the Czech Republic now, Ali Ufki, this Polish man in the 17th century, was the first man to translate Komensky, Jan Amos Komensky, from Latin to Czech, from Latin to Turkish. he translated one of his book, among other works, for the Ottoman people. So so let's probably listen to the song now. That was part of our song. It's longer. It has many versions actually. There is one full of lyrics, one partially, one even in English. So it's.
Tell us about the instruments. What instruments were used?
Actually, there is Oriental percussions. Obviously, there is a root.
Yes.
And there are in other versions of the song there are other instruments, but this is what I can remember now from 2015.
Okay, you mentioned well, I don't know if that was your first experience of music. You mentioned the choir. Was that your first exposure to actually doing something with your own musical talent, let's say? Was that singing the first? Was your voice your first instrument?
Voice, yeah. Voice came first. Instrument came later, I would say in 2014. Just 1 year before working with Zsolt and Anita in the Hungarian musicians. Before that, I was just singing with the choir at school. But from 2014, started, I would say, everything practically with music, yeah.
So you're a fast learner then.
I hope. I mean, yeah. It was when I was. It was my first year doing my PhD in 2014, and I was traveling between Morocco and Turkey. And there, I firstly. I wouldn't say firstly, but practically yes. I was going to, I was visiting these traditional schools. I was searching for manuscripts, for my PhD. In manuscripts, you can find in museums, in libraries, and in some modern institutions, but also in some what we call traditional schools. And these traditional schools are usually run by some Sufi communities. And there, so I was searching for the manuscript. I heard music, so they were doing it there, like it was part of their daily life. It was not a performance like I used to do with my choir. Yeah, it wasn't an event. It was part of their daily life. Their invocations, they sing devotional music. For them, it's devotional. Their lyrics they sing is totally devotional. But they used some instruments. Most of them are percussions, traditional percussions, beautifully made of wood and skin and natural material. So there, I was hooked by the melodies. And since then, I started joining these gatherings. They call it dhikr, like remembrance. So I just used to sit there and listen. And slowly it's nice, it's beautiful, it's very close to me. And yeah, so there I started developing my knowledge about the maqam, or the Oriental scales, and also the pronunciation of the words, of the lyrics. And this is done in a very beautiful way. It's transmitted like this. There is kind of a system. It's like a chain of transmission. The people teach it from generation to another. So it's a long and deep heritage. There is kind of hierarchy, spiritual, not social, not political, just spiritual. So that's where I would say I had a space for my voice, and also I discovered these instruments.
And which instruments? So since you started, tell us about the trajectory.
Honestly, I did not have the chance to study music or to learn instruments. That's why I hesitate when some friends call me or name me among musicians. I would say like maybe vocalist or singer is closer to my abilities. I can play many percussion instruments, many darbukas, bandir, these traditional instruments, just with skin and wood. I pick it up many other traditional string instruments like bouzouki, saz, and mandol, and some instruments. I can learn maybe fast, as you said, but I'm still more confident with percussion instruments. That's I feel really I find it fascinating that you can feel the skin when you play, and I even think that this should be one of the earliest music instrument for humanity. It should be the source of every other instrument. The skin sounds like humans discovered music instruments when they heard their own skin making the sound. And from this, probably they needed other material, and they developed other instruments, maybe. So I think that playing a percussion, bandir, darbuka, every instrument that has a material, a natural material, it should be able to transmit or convey the purest sense and remind us of our natural connection or even origins. So that's probably the secret why I'm more attached to this kind of instruments.
Okay. Shall we listen to another song?
Yes.
What are you going to play us now?
This is another song, or probably a soundtrack from 2020. It's also produced by my Hungarian friends. I traveled them to them from France to Germany, spent there a few days. We worked together on this song. It's I would say this is a purely inspired by what we have in common, me and Jolt. It's clearly, as you will feel, hopefully, inspired by the Sufi tradition. I made the vocals. There's no lyrics, but vocals. You can hear some sounds, and also I probably created the ambience or the atmosphere of the song, and I suggested that the instruments played for this music.
Looking forward to it. Thank you. It was it kind of at a precise moment I started like flying on a flying carpet, because this kind of music transports me to all those places I know where I used to hear this music. Very nice, very beautiful. You mentioned, Badr, I'm very curious about this place where you came into contact with a broader context of singing and instruments, and that they did it for devotional purposes. So I wanted to ask you about what you think about the functions of music, both at the individual level, what functions it can have for an individual, what functions it can play at the collective level, and I would like it if you can go also into the religious aspect as one of the ways of music functioning at the collective level? I know it's a very broad question, so, but
I will try to. You could probably remind me if I miss some parts of the question, but to start with, the individual impact of music, or my perspective to traditional art in general. When I say traditional art, I mean, because we're speaking about music, I include folk music, ethnic music, liturgical music, devotional music, and to a certain extent classical music. Johann Sebastian Bach was a Christian, he was a Lutheran, and he played for the church every Sunday. And Martin Luther was very clear about music. He clearly said that music is with theology. So I would say that music, for me, is like the philosopher who said, by creating a noble work of art, the artist works on his own soul in a way that he creates his own archetype. That was the Swiss philosopher, painter, and mystic, Friedrich Schwann, who's from Switzerland. He traveled and experienced many different traditions, including Indian Americans, and far to the east, and then he visited even Algeria. So I think that music completes. I feel that I'm working on myself when I work on or work with traditional arts, including traditional music. And it was Plato probably who said art completes what nature cannot bring to a finish. So we are naturally incomplete or unfinished piece of work, I believe. Okay. And I think that through this beautiful tool, we can complete, or try to complete what we miss.
But what functions does music have for you as an individual? For you?
I find that when I said when he said that music or art completes what nature cannot bring to a finish, I mean that our social norms or religion or everything that shapes our life cannot alone make us better people. It cannot sometimes speak to our souls. Religion itself, politics, the society, education cannot touch everything about us. That's why we have something beyond these laws. We have traditional art, which aims to, actually its main task is to educate the soul. You have many things to educate your physical dimension, yeah. But people are struggling to find something that touches their inner aspect. So I think that this is the role of music for me, as it should be the role for other people. There is David Hume in the 18th century, the Scottish Enlightenment philosopher, who reminded us that one should refine his taste. Yeah, we should refine our taste, work on our taste. This is a very sensitive thing. And nowadays, education and even modern music, we can talk about it later maybe, cannot educate people. It teaches us maybe to be civilized, to know the physical world, everything around us, to think critically, yes, but it cannot teach us how to control our desires. So I think this is the role of traditional music. To be more clear, I think in French we have two different words for these two different roles or dimensions. We have éducation et enseignement. In Arabic too we have tarbiya and ta'lim, education et enseignement. In English, at least in the modern spoken English, we have only one word, which is education, that is supposed to cover both roles, but it does not work. A professor at the university cannot educate the students. Yeah. You need somebody else who is an educator, who can teach or reach the another dimension of our being. That's what's traditional art can do. Modern art and our society in general in this time does not teach us how to deal with greed and hate and envy and the other diseases of the heart. So we need something to purify our souls, and I feel that music for me is doing this. Traditional music can do this for me and probably for the society.
Beautiful. So in fact you're kind of uniting both the functions for the individual and at the collective level.
Yes.
And of course this kind of refinement of the soul, I think, goes very much in line with the religious use of music, right? But,
yes.
And I also kind of understood that, see if I understood it correctly, that it can enlarge our humanity. That music can enlarge us as human beings, connect us with our most innermost parts, and maybe refine or cleanse, kind of refine us. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, nowadays it's a bit difficult to explain this to young generations. Music in the context of religion, it became more and more controversial because the big heading nowadays, or the principle that frames this relationship between music and religion says art served religion, but religion did nothing in return for art. And this is relatively true in some situations, but in fact they both served each other. Art beautifully transmitted many religious concepts, and religion inspired many musicians and artists in the world who created sublime, majestic pieces of art. But you know, the other part of this saying is correct when we talk about the dominance of orthodoxy. In Christian orthodoxy, art it's orthodoxy is best known for the Byzantine iconography and chanting, but when it comes to Orthodox Islam, it's totally the opposite. the vast majority of the schools of thought in Orthodox Islam did not permit music, did not permit dancing, did not permit painting portraits, did not permit making sculptures. So this thing we can find only in less Orthodox Islamic interpretation with the Sufis and the, in general, esoteric approaches to Islam. Now we are living in the time of exoteric, not in esoteric time. We are materialist era. So the exoteric aspect of the Orthodox discourse in many religions, including especially in Islam, is dominant. Therefore, we hear that everywhere that art is not allowed in Islam, and from the other hand, we see that many young people are trying to do something really dangerous. Something possible, but its consequences are catastrophic. Many people, especially young people, are trying to secularize art. I think it is possible to do it. You can free traditional art from its essence, from its spirit. Nobody would prevent you from singing qawwali, like Indian in the subcontinent, in traditional music, or singing Sufi, hadra, or any other, or ilahi, or ishq, or nobody would prevent you from dressing up like a red Indian or a Mongolian. You can practice these traditions, but you will never get the impact on you, and you can never transmit this to other people. You can enjoy it, and it will be really temporary feeling. It's like a dose of joy and pleasure to your mind, maybe soul, but it will not be part of the tradition, simply because these primordial traditions are based on initiation. If you don't believe in these things, in the metaphysical aspect of these practices, these people believe that every movement in the dance and every color or form or line or shape or note, if it is music, has a metaphysical aspect, meaning. If you do it just as a machine, as a robot, you just
you miss the
interpret.
point.
Yes, exactly. So I can think of an example now of the very key word in traditional music, Oriental, which we have already mentioned, maqam, which means in Arabic position or rank. And in Oriental music, obviously, it means specific melodies or scale. But in Sufi tradition, maqam means a spiritual state. It's a condition of being, of mind and spirit. More you are influenced and connected spiritually, your maqam is higher. How do we know that visibly? It should be reflected on your behavior. So, and on the art you produce. Yes. So, another meaning of maqam. Maqam are also the sacred places. We call it maqam in Arabic. For example, the Kaaba, where people do the pilgrimages, is called Maqamu Ibrahim.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with Prophet Muhammad. It's an Abrahamic building. They believe that he established that building, so there is nothing connected to relic of a person. It's a maqam, it's a place. The shrines of the saints, we call them maqams. The shrine of Rumi, the shrine of Tijani, the shrine of these saints, the Muslims respect. And around these maqams, physical maqams, started many musical maqams. Around these sacred places, maqams, people wrote many poems, many melodies. They were created around these maqams. So it was the spiritual maqam manifested in a place, in a physical
Yes.
dimension, that created that beautiful music that goes back to thousands of years back in time. So if you don't connect yourself, if you don't join this chain in any form, here I'm not calling anybody to join anything or do anything, just explaining how this traditional art works.
Yes.
If you cut it off from its nature,
Yes.
its transcendental nature, it will not work. And that's not to say, I will conclude the answer with this. This is not to say that values or beauty is exclusively transmitted through traditional arts. I know many traditional pieces of art that are not good, and non-traditional pieces of art that are nice and good.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is very interesting because I think you are making a connection between art and spirituality, which I was planning to address in a few minutes. But first, please, play us another song.
Another song?
Yes.
I would choose this one.
سر الهوى بالدجى لولا شموس الغرر مال نجم الكأس فيها وهوى مستقيم السير سعد الأثر حين لذ النوم شيئا أو كما هجم الصبح نجوم الحرس غرت الشهب بنا أو ربما أثرت فينا عيون النرجس بالذي أسكر من عذب لما كل عذب تحتسيه وحبا والذي كحل جفنيك بما سجد السحر لديه واقترى والذي أجرى دموعي عندما أعرضت من غير سبب وعلى صدرك إنك فما أجدر الماء بإدفان لها
say muwashah. We call it muwashah because in Arabic, tawshih means ornament or decoration. And this is a pure creation of the connection between the Spanish people, Arabs, Jewish, Christians and Muslims in Andalusia in the 14th to 13th to 14th century by a philosopher and a poet and a theologian whose name is Lisanuddin ibn al-Khatib, and he speaks about he was missing home, and he's describing his life in the past and with very beautiful details. It's a little bit sad, but it's for me it's one of the best muwashahat from the Andalusian time. That's the song.
Thank you so much. I'd love to ask you about your other interests, because I mean it would be, we have to bring up the whole diamond out. So I know that you've been involved in different types of work: illustration, acting, journalism. What else? Help me out. Anything I'm missing?
I do these things just to keep my loyalty to my childhood, honestly.
Okay.
I have done more and even better when I was a child.
Okay.
Ce qu'on appelle la belle époque.
Okay.
That time when I was a child, I feel that I was more more connected to different types of art. So now, yes, whenever I get a chance to act, I would act. Every time I get pencils or painting in my hand, I paint. I have even some exhibitions, and every time I have the modeling clay in my hand or wood, I would carve or make some sculptures. I love doing that. But now I'm focusing on writing and speaking. So I attend or speak at some conferences, mostly about the origins of theological conflicts and the potential of peace in religion. So there is a conflict, and there is clearly its frame or reasons or motives, and then there is also a potential of peace. So I speak most of the time about this, and I write. I have two screenplays and 3 books. The last one is coming soon. The third is about Jan Amos Komenský. It would be the first comprehensive study in Arabic, because there is almost nothing in Arabic about him. So it's it's based on tens of documents, manuscripts, and studies. It speaks about. I wanted to introduce him to the Arabic readers, but also to highlight the phenomenon of. There is kind of new attention to Jan Amos Komenský after being forgotten for hundreds of years. So now there are a lot of papers about him, a lot of research about him in English, in Czech mostly. But I want to introduce this new interest in Europe, in America, and even in the Middle East, especially through Ali Ofki, who's a musician, who translated in the 17th century his book. So this is what I'm doing now. Whenever I have time, I watch football.
Yes, it's very interesting because you're combining Komenský and you're combining speaking about peace and the potential of peace. And you told us previously about how education is not necessarily going to educate us, but it sounds to me that you're trying to inspire an enlargement of humanity. Yeah? Like Komenský education, but with
he's a pedagogue.
higher sense of kind of attending to the human being, as a human being rather than as a learning machine, and peace, which of course is the ultimate goal in my opinion,
Yes,
for humanity.
it is. It is the necessity of the
Yeah.
time. And in his essay or speech, it's rather a speech, the first president of Czechoslovakia, Tomáš Masaryk, he spoke about Komensky in a paper published by the Czech Academy of Science, which I translated to include in my book. He speaks about the role of. Obviously, there was war during the Reformation, which started here in the Czech Republic, but there was also some attempts to. And Komensky played a remarkable role in that. He had an educational program before everything. He traveled across the world, yes, and he led some initiatives. I mean, by himself, he traveled, he moved, but also he had an educational project. He called it Pan Sophie, which had a role maybe late after his death, but obviously, yes, we have to use all these tools. We cannot play on one chord. We must touch all this. Am I trying to influence or not? I don't think I'm trying.
Inspire. Because in the end,
if there would be an impact, but there is no intention. In the Sufi tradition, is centered on the person himself.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is something to change, it would be yourself.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So you can only inspire, but the change will come from within every individual. If it moves them.
There is a song in which Enrico Macias, a French singer, he's still living. He's from Algerian Jewish descent, and he sings, and I learned this song from my parents. He sings Je vous apporte la nouvelle, tous les loups, tous les agneaux, plus jamais ne se querellent au bord du même ruisseau. It's about him was with his friends, and he fell asleep on the table, and in his dream he saw that the world became more peaceful.
Wow.
Then he woke up and he tells the dream that even wolves and sheep played together, but then he says something really important about the role of scholars. The song goes like, maybe I have to read the lyrics from here. Yeah, it says les savants les plus habiles réunis dans une tour ont déclaré maintenant qu'il est temps de soigner le mal d'amour. Plus de peur, plus de menaces, de vaincus ou de vainqueurs. Les canons sont à la casse, on en fera des tracteurs. Je vous apporte la nouvelle, tous les loups, tous les agneaux. Plus jamais ne se querellent au bord du même ruisseau, au bord du même ruisseau, au bord du même ruisseau. And the meaning now is that he imagined also in his dream that a group of what he calls the smartest scholars met in a tower and declared that it is time to heal the hearts, to heal the hardness of the hearts of human beings. And this is really important. I mean, he's highlighting the role of the scholars in leading peace initiatives, because the song continues like les canons sont à la casse. The tanks or the weapons are. We are going to make tractors from the tanks or the weapons. On en fera des tracteurs. So I find that this is really beautiful song from the 70s, and there are many concepts here deeply rooted in religion. The idea of being on the same boat. Plus jamais ne se querellent au bord du même ruisseau. We are on the same river, humanity, and all the other beings. The world is not just for humans. All the rest of the beings are on the same planet, on the same river or stream or boat, and that they should not quarrel. They should not plus jamais ne se querellent au bord du même ruisseau. And then the other idea is that that scholars, intellectuals, artists should take the responsibility in inspiring people peace. This is the if there is something I would like to share or inspire others about, is would be this.
This is very interesting. The responsibility of artists. Very nice. Okay, on that note, I'm going to introduce another artist. We have the pleasure of having Albert Font Haro with us today, who is going to accompany Badr on the cajón. So we'll get into the more animated part of the musical performance, and maybe you can...
We'll try, because I have just performed a few verses from this French song, we'll probably try another French song, which I also learned from my parents. I heard them listening to Edith Piaf singing Sous le ciel de Paris, Under the Sky of Paris, which, by the way, teaches the same beautiful meanings. It describes Paris in a time where there are philosophers and musicians sitting together, and it mentions Notre Dame de Paris, where one of my best musicians, Eric Satie, used to sit there, contemplate, and read medieval manuscripts. So we can try it. Just the first part of it, and then we can do something else. So la 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 la. Sous le ciel de Paris s'envole une chanson. Elle est née d'aujourd'hui dans le cœur d'un garçon. Sous le ciel de Paris marchent des amoureux. Leur bonheur se construit sur un air fait pour eux. Sous le pont de Bercy, un philosophe assis, de musiciens, quelques badauds, puis des gens par milliers. That's just to connect the... Thank you very much, Albert.
Fantastic.
Just to... this is just a memory. I know that probably I was not really... I want to remember that even some modern art can inspire us good things, and even though I'm connected to the traditional art, but it was also David Hume, Scottish Enlightenment philosopher, who reminded us the difference between two important questions that we should not confuse. Is it good, and do you like it? We should not confuse the two questions. So we have probably different tastes, but we may agree about the role and the expected impact of art.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay. Is it good, or do we like it? Yeah. It's an important difference. I wanted to ask you something a little bit different, because I love to hear from foreigners, and especially from foreigners with different backgrounds. So you've mentioned about the Algerian background, the French background, and you've been living in the Czech Republic now for a few years. So I'd love to hear your experience of life here, how you see society, Czech society, what it offers you, what you offer to Czech society, and if you would change anything about it.
Okay, interesting. I will start from the last sentence or part of the question. If I have to change something, I strongly believe in the particularities of societies, and I respect that. So if there would be something I would change, it would be always myself, because this is what I have been taught, and I strongly believe in that. It's really Sufi. That Czech. How I do that? It's I search like for everything that may lead me to connection. Yeah. Well, the Sufis, like Komensky, by the way, believe that they are all immigrants. They are all foreigners in this world. And Komensky wrote a beautiful book, so The Labyrinth of the World and The Paradise of the Heart. So he was traveling, it's an allegory, so he traveled across the world, he experienced all the professions, he met all the categories of people, scientists, musicians, philosophers, and criticized everybody. And then he says that if there is a place where to settle, to feel yourself and be in peace, it would be your heart. Well, he's a Protestant, he's a Hussite, so obviously he has a Christian perspective, but it does not prevent, to generalize the concept of the reconciliation with yourself, whatever you believe in, whatever you aim to achieve. So for me, I sometimes feel also like Komensky when he was in Sweden. He was in Sweden in exile, and he met René Descartes. And according to some accounts, the meeting between the two philosophers was not really good. They could not understand each other. And it is clear. René Descartes, rationalism, not just rationalism, he is the embodiment of rationalism in the 17th century. He's the turning point of philosophy. He's a mathematician and rationalist. And Komensky, he's a humanist. They have this project of Pan-Sophie, and he's an enthusiastic reformist. It seems that Komensky tried to explain how he wanted to keep faith and spirituality in the new world order that they were trying to establish in that time. But it seems that he could not, because Descartes criticized his project later on. And so sometimes I feel the same. I think that we should not keep trying to express our perspectives or feelings through debates and conferences, or does not always work. Sometimes it's better to express our background through art. Through beauty. So that's what I do. I try to familiarize myself with Czech art. Mm-hmm. They have, beautiful, huge background of art, influenced by religion and spirituality. So I enjoy doing, exploring the impact of Jan Hus and Komensky and Kafka. Mm-hmm. And I even watched films of Schwankmajer, Jan Schwankmajer, just a little bit. Yes. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And that led me to enjoy the autumn here. I don't know if this has something to do with the absurdism and existentialism here in the Czech Republic. So I find the Czech people very humble compared to other people in the world, and I'm happy for being a small part in this small city and beautiful country.
Very nice. It sounds very constructive. Yeah, focusing on.
when I said I try to grasp or to catch some things that connects me more to the society. I was even trying to listen carefully to the words and the sounds, and I don't know if it was an illusion, or it's correct, but I heard even some words that sound close or familiar to what I know. For example, when they say tsopak, and in the Middle East, in Syria, Jordan, many Arab countries, when they say shubak, it means exactly. It means exactly the same. There are many common words, and I don't know how the connection started. I can understand the connection between the Spanish language and Arabic, but in Czech and Arabic, it's really strange. Yes, there was Slavs in Andalusia in the since the 9th century, but I don't think that they were. There was a big community that could inspire or influence the language. When they say korab, which is in Arabic qarab, it means a boat. They have other expressions that fascinated me. Wadu in Arabic is voda. There are many words. Like every time I hear something, I say, "Oh, there are some connections." Yeah.
Maybe there has been some research on this, or maybe you can do it yourself. It would be fascinating. Yes. Okay. Well, maybe we can get back to action. Yeah.
Right. So this is another ancient poem written by a woman from Iraq. And it goes this way. عرفت الهوى مذ عرفت هواك عرفت الهوى مذ عرفت هواك وأغلقت قلبي على من عداك وأغلقت قلبي على من عداك وقمت أناجيك يا من ترى وقمت أناجيك يا من ترى خفايا القلوب ولسنا نراك خفايا القلوب ولسنا نراك Thank you.
Great. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, Badr, I'd like to ask you, you were talking about the sacred and the secular and the different expressions of Mekam. If I say it correctly, I'm sure I don't. Okay, but you got it. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about the state of spirituality today? And especially I'd like you to draw the contrast between spirituality within your places of origin, let's say. Okay, what you have experienced before you moved to Europe and what you observe here in Europe. Okay, spirituality, yeah? In different places, but in the European context, and then maybe if you can say something about what you have observed specifically in the Czech Republic.
In the Czech Republic in particular, I found myself connected as well with my spiritual, humbly spiritual. I'm just trying to maintain or to improve my spirituality. So I every time I walk across Prague, I find a place where to whisper with some poems or prayers or invocations, whether it be a temple, a synagogue, a shrine, a place which reminds me. So I go to the church sometimes and they just sing something. Agni parthana da spina aghrante theotoi kerenim fianem fifte. And that gives me a dose of happiness. Spirituality is not foreign or an alien element to Europe. Europe was the center of spirituality. As I said earlier, we are not in the time of esotericism, of the inner or inward dimension of being, unfortunately. And each time should be treated according to its conditions. We should not live in the past. Like, well, I mentioned once that some traditional societies, for example, when you see the tea ceremony in Japan, Japanese traditional communities, how they do it, like, or just in North Africa, or how the nomads or Berbers, Amazigh community, how they prepare the tea. Yeah, they even say that to prepare tea, you must have 3 things that all or each start with the letter J. You must have jamr, which means fire, and jama'a, which means the group, and jar, which is the process. They may spend there like 3 hours just to prepare the tea, and through this process, this time, there are values transmitted: patience, generosity, connection to these natural things around you, and also gratitude and simpliness. It's minimalism, yes, but there is something missed today. So when I mentioned this example, some people said, just come on, just go get a tea from a machine or coffee from there. Why are you wasting time there, 3 hours in making tea? Or others said, like, look, these guys are just indoctrinated by corrupted policy or politics, that they think that they are enjoying this 2 drops of water and 3 leaves of mint and tea, this like very modest life, while others are making fortunes. So people nowadays, I mean, they can have whatever they want to say about these traditional lifestyles, but I think that this is what many places in the world are missing now. Mm-hmm. Our personal connection, or human attitudes and values are disappearing. I think that if you take spirituality as the metaphysical aspect of religion, you can leave it. You can live according to your spirituality. You can take it with you wherever you go. Yes. So it's not influenced by or affected by the place where you live. Mm-hmm. But if you take religion literally, here you will be in trouble and you must be close to your original place. And this is for me, this is really obvious. It's a fact, actually, that there are many religions excluding each other. And in this situation, we have three possibilities. Whether we say that all these religions are wrong, or we say that one of them is true and the rest are wrong, or we say that all of them are true. But whatever we say, it would not solve the situation. There is a fourth possibility which tends to, and this is the closest to my understanding, that the metaphysical aspect of religion, the meanings beyond the texts, the beauty beyond the shapes. It's not the temple that matters the most. It reminds you, yes, but it's not the mosque, the church, the synagogue, the temple that matters the most. Yeah? What's beyond? Yeah, that's Plato who said, beauty is the splendor of the true. It reminds you, it connects you when you stand in front of just simply in front of a wall in Andalusia. You see this sublime piece of art, or in a cathedral, or in anywhere where beauty was transmitted authentically. It can replace many practices. Yeah, it can remind you. It can charge you with the meanings you seek through different religious practices. So, for me, every time I walk on the Charles Bridge and I see the St. Augustine is there, by the way. So I feel really connected to my origins. So that's what I can say about spirituality, and that it should be taken in this sense of symbolic interpretation. It's not a call for abandoning anything or sticking into anything. It's just my personal experience, and this is how I see spiritual. Otherwise, religion itself, which is the recipient, or one of the recipients of spirituality, religion. I like one of my teachers who said that religion is like a nuclear weapon. It can be used in both in good and but unfortunately, in the recent, in this era, it's mostly used to hurt, to divide societies, to spread supremacy, religious supremacy. I am better than you. Salvation is only guaranteed through my path, and so the spirituality can help to see spirituality, or one of the windows that are open to spirituality is the traditional art. So this is how I practice, or how I see the matter of spirituality and question of religion nowadays, especially in Europe.
Just a comment, you said something that kind of struck a chord, which was this connection between practicing spirituality and going beyond the shape, the form, going into the meaning, and speed. Yeah, the speed of life, and how this speed, from what you were saying, I gathered that speed doesn't help in this spiritual connection, that we need to slow down. Yeah, whether it's an individual practice, spiritual practice, or a group practice, we need to slow down to really get into it.
Yeah, yes, true. Yeah, traditional life, consider time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's this is another criticism I received on the same example I gave about the ceremony of tea. Some people said, while these nomads or these traditional communities are making the tea for 3 hours, other people are developing technology. But that's really, the same people who say this are the people who believe in the freedom of choice. Yeah, they can choose the lifestyle you see more educating, more or healthier for you, for your children, for your family, for your community. So just let them make the tea. They will not hurt you.
Exactly.
They will invite you to have a cup of tea with them. Then you can criticize them.
Okay. On that note, maybe let's enjoy a little music.
Okay. This is talking about tea. I have a song that I composed. Its music. That was the first time I do that. Based on the lyrics of a Mauritanian poet, and describes the very minimalistic and simple life in one village in Mauritania. And it goes la 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 أول المستيقظين الخبز والديك وترديد الأذان ثم ضوء هامس بالفجر قد آن الأوان كان يا ما كان يا ما كان موعد الأعياد حان لا 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 القلوب البيض تسعى للمصلى في سلام والثياب البيض تختال كأسراب الحمام والطريق الآن يمن وأمان والطريق الآن يمن وأمان موعد الأعياد حان ليلى 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 ليلى
Merci.
Thank you.
I was just imagining like a long tea session, and every now and again you would play a song and we could kind of hum along, and that would be great. Maybe awesome.
Hopefully.
Okay, great. Well, I have a last question for you, and I know that you are involved with youth because you teach young people at university, and also I know you were recently involved in a conference about Arab youth. So I'd love to hear from you, I mean, what the conference was like, what it's like to work with young people overall, but also specifically if you have any messages for youth today.
Well, thank you. The conference was about the Arab youth and change. There is obviously a movement in the world. I mean, it's not just in the Arab world. Everybody is seeking a change, but many people do not know where to start. The same applies for spirituality, there is many people who claim back their spiritual roots, and they want to experience or to go through a spiritual experience, but they don't know how to start
or
that.
Find some roots.
Yes, or find, yes. But I believe that we all have some origins. There is one of the definitions of a human being, the common one, which was a human being is a rational animal. There are some people who say that we are a spiritual animal, not just rational. Because rational, in the ordinary sense of philosophy, excludes spirituality, as I said, gave the example of Komensky with Descartes, and we don't want to exclude anybody. So for those who seek change, especially young people, I think that they should look at the change as a pyramid or triangle. The change is, I believe, this way. It has different, or many aspects, many sides, and the change cannot come through one angle or one side. You cannot change the world just with art, and you cannot make any change only with religion. Or you cannot make any change exclusively with politics. No, it's a mix of everything. And this does not mean just that we should all run together and do the things in a chaotic. No, it means to educate ourselves and exchange our experiences. And I speak in the same language of symbols and shapes. If you want to change to come only through art, it's not possible, because art is like it's like you take the Rubik's cube and you change the sides and the colors, but in reality, the exterior, there's nothing changing. You are using the same colors, the same shapes, the same forms are moving around, but in reality there's no change. The same thing if you use religion to make the change. Religion probably is closer to the shape of a circle. You turn around yourself. You try to seek the center of yourself. This is religion. You turn like a whirling dervish in the Sufi tradition. You turn around, but outside there's no change. But if you take the form of a triangle, the change must be from the base to the top. And this goes through education and communication and exchange and grows to the top. That's the message I have for young people. If I have anything to say, they should take care of themselves.
Yes. I like how you emphasized, or maybe I was focusing on this, because I also very much agree with this message about exchange, because the more we know about every other culture,
True.
the more we find commonalities, the more we resonate with our own humanity in other groups, and I think this can be a path to peace.
Sure.
Yeah, because we tend to fear what we don't know, what seems kind of alien, different, but I think there is an ignorance underlying this.
Sure.
Yeah, so education and exchange maybe can be a cure for this.
Sure.
Yeah. Beautiful.
agree.
Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
thank you both, and I don't know if you might want to close with some music, or what do you think? Can we close
Should
with
we
something?
improvise on
instrument?
Okay. Let me just lead with an improvising sound, maybe. Hi da da di da 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 ji ra hi It was just a quick thing, improvised, and I know that we are at time. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Badr Tachouche, Albert Font Haro. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
I'm
Thank
really
you.
happy for this occasion. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you both.
Thank you for listening.